With me now is our World Service Environment correspondent, Naveen Singh Katka. Thanks very much for coming in. First of all, is it clear exactly how this spread happened?
This is still being worked out. So they talk about what happened with SARS back then. So they've identified that it was from bats. From bats, it jumped into some other animals and then on to humans. Now this time around, they guess, and they're saying it has to be bats, but they're still working on it. But the thing is, what scientists are saying is the exposure to these wild animals and the way they sell other animals, chicken, pigs, whatever, exposed, side by side. So you've got snakes, you've got chicken, you've got, civet cats, and you've got pigs. So when they're in close contact like that, so that's how, or from bats, for instance. So that's how the primary source is bats, for instance, jumped into some other animal and onto human. But that's still being worked out what exactly happened, what was this intermediary animal. But by and large, they think that it has to be wild animals, and therefore this crackdown, and there's a permanent temporary ban, and international organizations, conservation organizations are asking that this be turned into a permanent one that will help wildlife conservation as well.
Aren't some of these wild markets supposed to be illegal anyway?
Yes, so it's a mix. So what happens in Chinese markets is, although it's called wildlife market, so some of those species are allowed, which internationally they have concerns, they have been demanding. But then many of the species are also illegal, and that's what the Chinese government has been trying to crack down on. But the thing is, it's easy to say. Back then, during the SARS outbreak as well, we saw this. They introduced a temporary ban, but then within few months after, it was gone, and the business was back. But this time around, things are serious because this industry has hijacked this powerhouse that supplies all the goods to the world. That has been hijacked, and as a result, you're hearing all these big decisions from the Politburo Standing Committee chaired by the president himself.
And these animals in these markets, is this for being slaughtered fresh for consumption as well as for medicinal products? Does that all happen in the same place, or are they all in separate markets?
Well, it depends. Some of these animals, for example, pangolin scales. You see, like pangolin scales, they use for traditional Chinese medicine. And China has almost lost all of its pangolin, and therefore it's being poached elsewhere. Remember, pangolin is the most poached animal now for that market. So some of the species, for example, rhino horns, they have medicinal values, whereas other animals are used for meat, and some are for both. It's a massive industry. And you talked about this meat thing. The issue here is about warm meat. They want warm meat. The practice is they want warm. The demand for warm meat is quite high, slaughtered and kept there. And as I said, you've got snakes there, civet cats there, bats there, warm meat. It's so vulnerable, so vulnerable.
Very, very briefly, how likely is it that this is going to be able to be stopped?
Well, it's quite challenging, but then, as I said, the whole powerhouse, China as an economy, is being disturbed, and therefore this Politburo meeting has taken a decision. And so, like one-child policy, I'm told that the government will try to implement it as much as possible.
Naveen Singh Katka, thank you very much.